Shalom, shalom, Israel. It's your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And you know what today is. It's another Savory Sunday where we do what? Learn the laws of the Most High God. Each and every Sunday, Lord willing, we strive to do what? Take one commandment, break it down, go into it, and give the edification to our brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel. And today is no different. So, without further ado, we're going to jump straight into it. Well, before we do that, like we shall always do, each and every day that the Lord bless us to wake up, we got to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God of Israel. Because without him, who are we? What's our purpose? So in all things, we got to acknowledge him in all our ways, and he'll direct our paths. So we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God of Israel for waking us up, for bringing us together on this channel, in this live feed, to be able to give our brothers and sisters some more knowledge, more than they had yesterday. So today's topic on a Savory Sunday is called don't lend to use usury, because that's a commandment of the Lord, basically, But it's talking about usury. What is usury? Let's bring that out right quick. What is usury? Got to find out the definition before we can go into it. Usury, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is the lending of money with an interest charge for its use. Now, I know a lot of you saying, what? That's usury? Why have I always heard it as being interest? That's exactly what it is. It switched it up just so you don't understand what's really going on. But I'm going to keep reading the other definitions. But number one is the one that I want to use. It says, an unconscionable or exorbitant rate or amount of interest. Basically just saying interest. Let's get some, do they got any synonyms for it? Well, interest, basically, for those who don't know, is money owed or paid on top of money borrowed. For example, if I borrow $100 from my brother, the Lord say I shouldn't have to pay interest on top of that money. Any one of us from the nation of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, if I were to borrow money from you, I should give you that same amount of money back, or food, or clothing. That's what the Lord is basically saying. But usury or interest, as you know it today, would be charging a fee for that. So if I was to borrow $100 from you, you might say, well, I need 120 back. If I give you this 100, I need 120 back. That's the way of the world. That was taught to us by our oppressor, by the enemy. But the Lord says for our nation, we are not supposed to use usury upon each other, But let's go get the scripture. Let's go to Exodus chapter 22 and 25. Exodus chapter 22 and verse 25. And it reads, if thou lend money to any of thy people, that it is, hold on, let me read that one more time. I got words written on top of it. This is Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down, for that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious. So the Lord is saying we are not supposed to hold interest or charge our brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel of his people interest, usury. We're not supposed to be as you see in the world, charging interest on our brothers and sisters, you know. And he said, if they pledge something, a lot of folks will do, especially if you go trying to not rent a car, but well, you can say that too. But just test driving a car, they'll tell you to let them hold your driver's license, for instance. And I don't know what it is now. It's been a while since I've done it, but let me hold your license and something else valuable so that you have to come back to them, while test driving that car, for instance. That's another form of usury. But the Lord said, if you was to do that, you got to give that brother or sister the item back at which they pledged to for you to hold, basically. For just say example, for using that car, you got to give it back to them at the end of the day, before the sun go down. End of the day, basically. So the Lord saying, I'll read it one more time. Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury, meaning no interest. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by the sun goeth down. So there you go. No usury upon your people. It don't necessarily say that about the other nations, but it's talking about our people. That's who the laws and statutes were given to, our people, to let us know how to deal and conduct business amongst each other. Let's get another example of that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 19. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 19. And it reads, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. This is where it get interesting. Check this out. Verse 20, it says, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. You see that? The Lord said, for his people, he don't want them to charge each other usury for anything. But the enemy or the stranger, the Gentile, the heathen, all those words are similar. You can charge usury. Now, that only applies when we in rulership. Right now, we are not in rulership, as you all know, as you all see. It's a reason for that. Because whether we want to believe it or not, we the ones being taxed, being usury, being pushed upon us, But majority of us, we've been indoctrinated, conditioned, for lack of a better term, by being here in this captivity, in this wicked kingdom that we all know is Babylon the Great, or America, as you know it, been conditioned to think one type of way. If I lend you money, you give it back, or it's going to be some problems. Or if I lend you something, I want something in return. That ain't how the Lord get down, And I'm going to show just a quick example as to what I mean when I say that, because our brothers have mindsets just like this in today's society. Let me bring that out for you.
Thought you got away, huh, baby? Now you're laying dead. We ain't settled this yet, right? Where's my money, motherfucker? Where's my money, motherfucker? I want my money. Funeral, no funeral, I want my money. I don't care if I have to give you mouth to mouth from the blind, your black ass, I want my money.
Perfect example as to what I'm talking about. Even when the man dead, your own brother dead, you steady at the funeral trying to get some money out of him. Still want that money. And we willing to take our brothers and sisters to the grave and still haunting them and slandering their character for that money. What will we do for the money? But I digress. Let's go to Psalms 15 and 5. Let's go to Psalms chapter 15 and verse 5. And it reads, He that putteth not out his money to usury, nor taketh reward against the innocent, he that doeth these things shall never be moved. Never be moved. Simple. Never be moved in his doctrine, in your spirit, and the foundation of which you bound in or stand on. Because the Lord going to be there with you. You keeping his commandment, he going to protect you. Therefore, you're not going to be moved. Understand that. But like I was saying earlier, well, now let's go to Proverbs 22 and 7 right quick before I jump into it. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 7. Whether you know it or not, the Lord speaks and gives advice on all things. This is no different. Usury. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7. And it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. You see that? The slave, if you are taking a loan out, for instance, you now become a slave to that lender. You know, that's why the Lord commands us not to borrow, or that we shouldn't borrow, you know, because we'll be made slave to the lender, you know. Let me read that one more time. Proverbs 22 verse 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. You see that? That's the same thing with usury. You go take out a loan, payday advance, what they call a title max. They're going to charge you interest on everything because you need that money right then and there. Charge you interest, make you slave to them. And most of the time when you get these loans, you're going to pay for it 2 and 3 times over just to pay it off. Think about that. But let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 43. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 43. Because as I stated beforehand, the Lord told us that we ain't supposed to be doing that. So if we were in rulership, he said that we could charge usury to the other nations, to the stranger, to the heathen, to your enemy. But we are in a condition today where we can't lend money. We live in check to check, week to week, trying to make ends meet, trying to survive in this wicked kingdom. It's a reason for that, though. Matter of fact, let me start with Deuteronomy 28 and 15. And it reads, But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So we would be cursed for not keeping God's commandments. So if we were able to lend to the other nations and charge them usury, that means that we would have been keeping the commandments. But obviously we haven't been keeping the commandments because they charging usury on us. Let's go down to verse 43 right quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. It says, the stranger. Now you remember what the Lord said about the stranger. You can charge them usury. But it says in Deuteronomy 28 and 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. So they're going, instead of us being in rulership and them being on the bottom working for us, they said the stranger, the other nations that are among us, going to get up very high and we're going to come down very low. All right. He shall lend to thee. They saying the other nations, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You see that? That's one of the curses put on the Israelite, man, woman, and child, for doing what? Not keeping God's commandments. It's that simple. So one of the curses that were put on us is for not keeping the commandments was the fact that the other nations would get up high above us and they would charge interest on everything that we do, everything that we need in life. Just think about it. You go to work, you work however many hours you work, they tax your money before you even touch it. Then they tax it again when it hits your check. or when you go to cash it. Then when you go to spend it, you paying tax on top of tax. Then at the end of the year, they want to force you to file your income tax, take some more money. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. But that's a curse put on the Israelite man, woman, and child for being disobedient. I'm going to show you another example as to how that applies. Let's go to Haggai, chapter 1, verse 6. The book of Haggai, chapter 1. Let me get to it. Book of Haggai, chapter 1, verse 6. And it reads, ye have sown much and bring in little. If that ain't the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, the Israelite man, woman, and child, it said, ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm, and ye earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts, consider your ways. You see that? The Lord is telling us, because of your disobedience, I'm going to have it where you putting in all type of work to earn this money. And when you put it in your pocket, it's like putting it in a bag with holes in it. You can never have enough, make enough, and it ain't going to never seem like you making enough. You know, I always seem like you're going to be struggling from check to check. Why? Because we continue day in and day out, week in and week out, breaking God's commandments. And that's why it's important in these last days for us to come back to who we are and realize what's at stake, what's really going on, you know, because our people don't know who they are. They don't know what's going on. The other nations, they following in suit. They doing exactly what they were created to do, which were to have you going off. They are your enemies. They're not your friends. The other nations, they're not your friends, whether you want to believe it or not. God has one chosen people, the nation of Israel, his lot, his inheritance. The same people that Moses went to free from Egypt. The story that the whole world knows about. Whether you want to believe it or not, that story is about you, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. You are the Israelite the Bible speaks of. God's chosen people. But because of our constant disobedience throughout the past, throughout history, we are in a condition now here in America where we don't know who we are or what's going on. And you can't even really have a real conversation with your brothers and sisters anymore. We don't stick together. We broken as a nation. Why? Because that is promised in Deuteronomy 28, the 28th chapter. We've been hit with so many curses, we don't know which way to go. So we follow behind the enemy, the same people who oppress us, thinking that they have the answer to everything. Foolishness, if you ask me. But, you know, let me show you a couple pictures, you know, of the things that I'm talking about, you know. The payday advance. All right. Let me share my screen right quick. Payday advances. You know, you see these all around our neighborhoods, our communities, you know, constantly. Cash advances, title max, payday loan, cash advance, cash money. Where do you think they set these stores up? Cash America pawn shops. Yeah, a pawn shop is the same thing as a payday advance. You go in there and you pledge my item, trying to get a little money, hopefully to come back and get it. Most of the time, our people aren't fortunate enough to come back and get it. But you'll see title matches. You'll see commercials about trading in your title for your cars to get a few dollars, you know, a payday advance. They'll have, just like you see in this picture right here, they have a payday loan store right next to a check cash place. Two different places that are set up to take money out your pocket rather than to help you, you know. payday advances, cash advances set up everywhere in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian neighborhoods. Set up for what reason? To keep you slave to the lender, whether you want to believe it or not. We all know that these businesses are not for our benefit. But when we run into crunches or jams, or when we trying to celebrate these wicked pagan holidays, we'll go over and beyond doing whatever, trying to get a gift to celebrate a holiday for that the Most High told us not to even deal with. We'll go take out payday loans to go buy gifts to celebrate holidays that are wicked as hell, that are actually set up to celebrate the downfall of our people. You know, we'll take out loans for these things. Once again, payday advances, cash advances, title loans, checks cash, cash advance. They set up in our neighborhoods. When you go to the enemy neighborhood, you know what I'm talking about, so-called white man neighborhood, you're not going to see these things. They're not going to have those set up in their neighborhoods. They set up in our neighborhood to oppress us, to keep us slave to the lender. Understand that. And the Lord put those things on us as a curse. Because remember, he said that the stranger was supposed to be, we were supposed to enforce usury on the stranger. But because we being disobedient to the Most High God, he flipped that and put that on us. So the stranger is now ahead of us in rulership, and they charging us interest on everything, usury. And they take everything from you because you ain't paying that interest, whether it be your house, your car, your bank accounts, your very existence. Think about that. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 18 and 10. Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 10. Getting ahead of myself. Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 10. And it reads, if he beget a son that is a robber, a shedder of blood, and that doeth like any of one of these things, and that doeth not any of those duties, but even have eaten upon the mountains and defiled his neighbor, have oppressed the poor and needy, have spoiled by violence, have not restored the pledge, and have lifted up his eyes to the idols, have committed abomination, have given forth upon usury, and have taken increase. Shall he then live? He shall not live. He have done all these abominations. He shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. So the Lord is letting you know, along with various other abominations, but the main one using usury, charging interest on your folks, you'll be put to death for that. Being put to death for that. And I'm going to show you another video clip that most of us are familiar with, but it's going and it's explaining exactly what I'm talking about right quick.
Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family, never forgetting where we came from. Thank you, Sean. See, you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody or you're nobody. I'll be right back.
I need these fresh. If I come back here and get you, you know what it is.
Tango.
Don't play that.
Yes, sir. I hear you. You won't have to come back. Don't be no problem. About you, Frank? You need anything?
Where's my money? Red Top gave you the package. You're supposed to hand me my money. Here's a jar right here, 20%.
Oh, you got the jar?
That's right.
20%.
Get the fuck out of here, Frank. Oh, what you gonna do? What the fuck you gonna do, Frank? Huh? What you doing? You gonna shoot me in front of everybody? Huh? Come on.
you can see.
I'm going to read that again. Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 13. Have given forth upon usury and have taken increase. Shall he then live? He shall not live. He have done all these abominations. He shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. Excuse me. And that's exactly what we just seen in that scene right there. Charging interest, trying to railroad the brother, you know. Now, before we move any further, I just want to let you know I don't agree with the message being portrayed in that movie, you know. Both of them were basically setting up to kill each other, kill our brothers and sisters. But it was an example used to show you what happens when you charge usury to your brothers and sisters. And where do we learn that? Here in Babylon the Great, from certain movies just like that. Think about that, you know. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 12. And it reads, in thee have they taken gifts to shed blood. Thou hast taken usury and increase, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith the Lord God. You know, some of these politicians, that's how do you think they get in the office? They have different people giving them different forms of bribery to put them in office to ultimately do what? Have them do what they want them to do in the city council or the government, whatever it may be. It's like a little puppet master, you know what I'm saying? Pay to play. They paved the way or paid the way for them to get into that position. They get the perks while being in there, but ultimately, by them paying that money, they have a hidden agenda. They want them to basically move to their beat or move to the beat of their drum, you know? Taking bribes, usury, extortion, another word for it, you know? Let's go to Luke chapter 6 and 34. Luke chapter 6, verse 34. And it reads, and if ye lend to them of whom ye hope to receive, what thanks have ye? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your, excuse me, let me read that one more time. Luke chapter 6, verse 35. But love ye your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. And ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father is also merciful. Now, a lot of folks will say, well, what are you talking about? The Lord saying, don't sinners basically get the same thing? Don't they do the same thing? So how much more are you being in this truth, knowing who you are, knowing that you're supposed to be keeping these commandments? How much more are you? You know, you're not supposed to be out there lending to your brother to hold it over their heads or to charge them interest. That's not the purpose of it. It's to help your brother out. They're in hard times, obviously. So why should you take advantage of that to try to reap some type of benefit out of it? You know, charge them interest. Think about that. Is that really brotherly love? Or that a brother trying to get over on another brother or sister? That's what the Lord wants us to realize. Let's go to John chapter 11 and 39. John chapter 11, verse 39. Going to do a little reading on this one. But let's get it. John chapter 11, verse 39. And it reads, Jesus said, take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he have been dead 4 days. Jesus said unto her, said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou heardest me always, because of the people which stand by it, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did believed on him. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and all the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. You see that? But I'm going to keep reading. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest, that same year said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should come, die for the nation, for that nation. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. Is that all I want? Nah. Then from that day forth, they took counsel together for to put him to death. Verse 54, Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence unto the country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jews Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves as they stood in the temple, what think ye, that he will not come to the feast? Now both of the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that if any man knew where he were, he should show it, and they might take him. I read all that to show you and speak on the fact that the Pharisees basically were trying to kill Christ because it was prophesied mainly, but because he was speaking the truth. And by him speaking the truth, that was going to shorten they shorten their pockets and take away from their influential or power stance that they had in the community or in the neighborhood or in the city. So they, rather than reason with the man or get more understanding, they rather take him out of the picture so that their pockets stay on swole, or so they stay in rulership, you know. And that's another form of extortion, you know. They see that their pockets getting ready to get short, they got to take the competition out. You know, that's exactly what you see in today's society, you know. But I read that to show you that the Pharisees planned to kill Christ because he was going to expose them. You see that on a constant basis. Let me go to Isaiah 54 and 14 right quick. Excuse me. Our brothers and sisters do that all the time. Where do we learn it? From the enemy, Satan, and the other nations. Isaiah 54 and 14, it says, in righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. So the righteous, the ones who keeping these commandments, they ain't got nothing to worry about. They ain't got to worry about oppression. The Lord said, or Christ said, the truth will make you free. Free from not knowing what's going on, really being in sin, living a life of sin, being oppressed, you know. you'll understand what's going on and start standing up back into your rightful role. You know, let's go to Psalms 103 and 6. Psalms 103 and 6. And it reads, the Lord executeth righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. You see that? When you're keeping the commandments and you're doing what he tell you to do, the Lord going to execute judgment on your behalf, on the Israelite man, woman, and child's behalf. You know, righteous judgment. Understand that. It says, he made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. He didn't make everybody in the world know his acts or his judgments or his commandments. Only the children of Israel. Those are the people. He said, let me read it again. Psalms 103 and 7. He made known his ways unto Moses. Moses did not come and free everybody. He came and freed God's people from the Egyptians. Understand that. God ain't dealing with everybody. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and plenteous in mercy. He only merciful toward the children of Israel, not the other nations. They don't know him. They don't know his judgments. They don't know his commandments nor his laws. Even though this book is available to anybody to read, they don't keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Not even the so-called Jewish man. Think about that. Because they are not. They are the nation of Amalek. Think about that. Verse 9, it reads, he will not always chide, neither will he keep his anger forever. So even though we oppressed and going through these curses right now, he will not be angry with us forever. If you read the scriptures, you'll realize that he had mercy on us time after time after time, delivering us out of various captivities. But we had to admit our faults and repent and come back to keeping the commandments in order for him to do so. That's what we did as a nation of people. And that's what we striving to do in these last days, is wake our brothers and sisters up as to who they are and what we must be doing in these last days in order to be saved from this captivity. It's that simple, you know. But let's go to Proverbs 19 and 17. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 17, and it reads, he that have pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord. Let me read that again. Proverbs 19 and 17. He that have pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he have given will he pay him again. You see that? So the Lord letting you know you don't have to oppress your people. You know, if anything, you should be in rulership right now, oppressing the other nations. But the Lord said, when you have pity upon the poor, you lending unto the Lord. It's like you helping out the Lord. And when you help them out, he gonna repay you again, you know. And it ain't just talking about monetary gain either. You know, help them out with food, with a shoulder to cry on, giving them knowledge and understanding as to who they are, helping to build them up. You give them knowledge, just think about how much more knowledge the Lord is going to give you. You know, you help them out with a place to stay, think about how the Lord going to do you. You help build them up, how much more he going to build you up. Understand that. It's a just God, a just balance. So don't forget who you are. Hopefully you learn some by listening to this class. Excuse me for stumbling over my words, but whatnot. But I'm just trying to make sure I drive home the point of keeping these commandments to our brothers and sisters. You know, I'm not the best speaker in the world. Never will I ever claim to be. But my goal and my job is to give you this knowledge. What I learn, I give to my brothers and sisters. What good is it for me to have it and not share it with us, especially when it's going to be beneficial for me, you, and our nation of people, you know? So hopefully you learn something tonight. I'm Brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel, and I say shalom to you.